I'm back with another journaling video, and this one's going to be about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what should I journal about, or what should I put in my journals? Should I journal about the negative thoughts that I have, as well as all the positive thoughts, feelings, memories that I want to record? Do I put the negative ones in my journal as well? And I'm going to address that question from a personal perspective and what I do. As I've said before, in journaling, there is no rules whatsoever. The journal is 150% yours, and what you do with it is up to you. But here's what I do, and these are my thoughts. So I had the same thought when I began journaling, and I asked a good friend of mine, and his opinion, I thought it was great perspective. He's a retired therapist, and he said, journal about it all. If you feel it all, journal about it all. Put it all in there. If in the future somebody reads your journal and they only see happy thoughts and they have negative thoughts, of course they have negative thoughts, right? Because all of us do. All of us get upset. All of us are sad and we get angry. We may even harbor a fair amount of, I don't know, resentment, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we're all that way, and we all have those thoughts. Like, the human psyche is so complicated. So if I'm only writing negative thoughts in here, or I'm sorry, positive thoughts in here, in the future, if my great-great-granddaughter only reads my positive thoughts, you know, maybe that thought to you is very comforting, but to me, I would rather her know me to be a real person. So if she's having negative thoughts, maybe she's frustrated with her husband or her children or anything else going on in her life, and she happens to read great-great-grandma's words, she'll know great-great-grandma felt that as well. And so maybe there might be some comfort in that. And I know there's comfort in me in writing those words down. And there's comfort, and there's healing, and there's introspection that happens when I look back on my journals and I read them. So I am benefiting from it. And if somebody in the future benefits from it too, then that's great. But anyway, that's my thoughts. So all my thoughts go into my journal. So I have one journal and it gets them all. So I'm going to do a quick review too of this MD notebook. This is a journal that I filled in October through December 2023. And if someone were asking me, you know, what journal should I, or what notebook should I start with when I journal? And, you know, my first advice would be any one that you have on your shelf, any empty or partially empty notebook that you have on your shelf. But my second advice, or my second option, would be this notebook. I believe these are under $15. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them in a variety. I think Barnes & Noble is selling these in store right now, and they are affordable, and they have like literally the best paper ever. Of course, that's my opinion, the opinion of a lot of other people as well, but it is wonderful paper. Same paper as Traveler's Company planner inserts, same company. Midori Traveler's Company, and this MD paper is just really, really awesome. This notebook is 176 pages, and it took me just a couple months to fill it up, and it will take anything you throw at it, so it's good stuff. So I'm just going to open the journal and then talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes into this journal. So I don't have a whole lot of like dark negative thoughts, but I do have all the feelings like everyone else, and they go right into these pages. You know, if say on October 24th, I write down that I had an argument with my husband, and then maybe the next day or a couple days later, we've resolved it, I've also written about that. So my conflict resolution is in here as well. And then if I'm frustrated with a child of mine, I write about it. And then I also pray for them, and that shows up in my journal pages as well. So it all goes in here. I have heard of people having like burn journals where they have like super dark and negative thoughts, and they don't want anybody to read them, which is obviously their awesome prerogative. But that is another idea. If having all the thoughts in a book, in one book, is a little daunting to you, you could have a burn journal. And a neat way to do that, I think, would be to have something like this. I was using this as my planner cover, but I switched out of my A5 planner into another one. So I took my A5 Lloydstrom and slipped it in here. And so this is my journal. And then, you know, you could have a small insert notebook that you put on an elastic, or you tucked it in with the notebook. And then you could write your, you know, angry, dark thoughts in a burn book, I guess, is what some people call it. Meaning that when they're done writing in it, they'll burn it, or they'll do something so that no one else can read it. I mean, diaries back in the day had locks on them for a reason. I remember when I was young, I could buy a diary with a little lock on it. There was a reason behind that, I'm sure. Personally, I don't need a lock on my journal, but I could see where some people might. You know, as far as like dark thoughts, like if you were, you know, in a deep state of depression and perhaps maybe even suicidal, the benefit that you would gain being able to process through those thoughts on paper. And, you know, I don't know, like, would I want my family to read that if I was having those thoughts? I don't know, probably. In that it's just part of who I am and part of what I'm going through. So I don't see it as necessarily negative. I mean, it is negative, obviously, but I don't see it as a bad thing to put in a journal. I mean, this journaling is a tool. And if that's what you are working or, you know, going through, use the tool to help you work through that. That's my advice. So anyway, this notebook was such a joy to fill. It lays flat. Oh goodness, there's not that big edge I was talking about with some of the fatter notebooks. You can start filling up this notebook pretty quickly. This is one where I took this is a quote from Winston Churchill that I saw and liked, so I put it on this page and kind of made it stand out by giving it a place of its own. And another thing I wanted to share with this journal is I want to show you that I practice what I preach. So I purchased this journal and began, I don't know why, but I have this date in here of 10/23/22, and I had bought it so that I could try the James method of verse mapping, and I did it once. So I'm not sure why I went in a couple pages and started here, but that's what I did. And I closed this and put it on the shelf, but then I brought it back out again and decided to fill it. And I wrote up here, and then when I got to these pages, I skipped over them. I did date them, but I skipped over them. And then I wrote myself a little note saying, you know, I tried this verse mapping experiment, didn't work out, but I'm going to continue to fill up this notebook. And I did. So I think like Ghost of Christmas Past me would have thrown the notebook away, but the new improved me kept it and filled it up and didn't just trash this notebook because it had 2 pages filled in it. So that is all I have to say. In answer to some people's questions that have asked, you know, I write about everything. So if I'm frustrated, it goes in here. And if I'm happy, it goes in here. If I'm celebrating, if it's just mundane life, it all goes in one book. That is how I do things. I would love to hear how you do things. And like what you think about putting those negative thoughts in your journal. Do you have a burn journal? Do you recommend a burn journal to someone else? There are no rules, just your rules, or just what you think is important, and using this journaling habit as a I don't know, tool to enhance your life. So that's how I do it, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you.